Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Sheila Segerson, the Director of Shelter Solutions at Maddie's Fund. Welcome to Maddie's Monthly Behavior Connection, a monthly webcast that's all about animal behavior. It is my honor to welcome our speaker today, Dr. Carley Faughn. Dr. Carley, who's a PhD as well as a certified applied animal behaviorist, has worked with dogs, cats, and non-human primates since 2007, merging her passion for comparative cognition, animal welfare, and animal rescue while supporting the communities in which she has lived and beyond. Dr. Carley completed her PhD in cognitive science at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in 2014. As I said, she's a certified applied animal behaviorist and currently serves as the outcomes and behavior manager at the Humane Society of Vero Beach and Indian River County, where they are very, very lucky to have her. And she also, if that's not enough, leads a behavior and shelter consulting business, Zen Pet. Welcome, Dr. Carley. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sheila. I'm very happy to be here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, thank you all for having me, and thank you for coming. As Dr. Segerson mentioned, I am Dr. Carley Faughn, and I'm currently the Outcome Manager and Behavior Manager at Humane Society of Vero Beach and Indian River County down here in Florida. I'm also a professor, an adjunct professor for the Bergen College of Canine Studies, and I serve on the board of directors for Free Dog Trainers so that we can provide education for everyone. So I'm going to jump right into the presentation for the sake of time. And what we commonly see in, I'm kind of focusing on dogs today, but everything that I'm talking about can be related to cats and other animals as well. So some common behavior challenges that we see for dogs in shelters can be things like reactivity, whether that's toward other people or other animals, difficulty meeting people. I'm going to play this video real quick. This is Jose Ocaño. I used to work at Best Friends Animal Society, and this is Pula, who had a lot of practice at this point meeting new people. And she was very treat motivated, and she knows sit very well. And so this can be, a barrier to adoption when we are doing meet and greets for dogs that have difficulty meeting new people. You can see the leash being handed off there because Pula is engaged with him and listening to him. And I have another short video here of a dog named Pebbles, who is under-socialized. Was very shy dog. You can see her pacing. And there's a new person in the room. I think Jose was in there with us as well at that time. And so these are just some examples listed here on the slide and in the videos. And in the picture, the jumpy, mouthy behaviors can sometimes be a barrier to adoption or concerning for adopters, as well as pulling hard on leash, which is this cutie here, Olga, who was actually adopted today. So I'm super excited about that. She went home with a great family. And we know that resource guarding and dogs with a bite history can also be challenges that we see in the shelter, and also challenges in getting those dogs adopted. When we're talking about adopting out dogs or cats with behavior challenges, we might feel a little bit nervous or unsure or need clarity, and that is completely okay. That is completely normal. And what you're going to hear me talking about throughout the presentation is teamwork. So we always want to set up our goals, and for all of our teams, not just our adoption team, but our animal care staff team, our behavior teams, everyone to be on board with what our goals are. Which people have different types of skill sets? What's the vision of your organization, and what defines success? So again, you want to work with your teammates and your behavior team. So while you might be nervous when consulting about a dog that might have some behavior challenges, such as some hyper arousal behaviors, and you don't want that dog to hurt anyone, instead of being afraid in that situation, I would recommend flipping the script on yourself and using that awareness to your benefit to set that dog up for success and communicate well with potential adopters and fosters. So here's my adoption roadmap. I talk about engagement, education, meet and greets, and then the finalization for adoption, foster, and foster to adopt. When we're engaging with the community, we always want to be friendly. Those working at the adoption desk or the front desk, we're the first people that the community engages with when they come to our shelter or rescue. And that can make a very big impression on the community members that we are engaging with. We do same day adoptions, conversation based adoptions, and we are really trying to get to know the adopters and asking them lifestyle questions and what their household is like, what activities do they like to do outside the house, what kind of companion animal are they specifically looking for. And we always want to interact with the community with no judgment. We want to treat everyone equally and the same. And we want to do that not just out of respect for them, but out of respect for our animals that we're trying to get adopted. During the education process in this adoption roadmap, we always want to disclose any behavior notes and behavior waivers. And I'm going to jump into some of this and dissect some of this throughout the presentation. The reason we want to do this is we need to be transparent, and we need to do that without fear. We don't want to scare the adopters or fosters away, but we need to be honest about what history we do know about the animal that they are inquiring about, and also the behaviors that we have seen in the shelters. And when we do that, we want to describe the body language that's listed or that we might know ourselves about the dog or cat that they're talking about. And I will be talking about how shelter software is your friend as well. For the meet and greets, you want to think about who is going to be involved, which animal care staff members or other teammate members in your organization are the best people to be involved with the meet and greet with the family or the adopter or foster. And who's going to do the kennel walkthrough? Some processes are different between shelters, of course. Some shelters, community members can walk directly through the kennels. Other shelters, they need to be escorted. And that's how it is at the Humane Society of Vero Beach here in Florida. And then we also need to think about how do we want to do the meet and greet outside of their kennel once they've seen them? Do we want to do it in a play yard, or do we want to do it in a room that's free that the dog might be used to? Thinking about what is going to help the dog be most comfortable in meeting people outside of the kennel. And then, of course, we want to, if the adoption or foster situation works out, we want to reiterate the behaviors and always let them know that we offer support pre and post adoption. And so this is part of the pre-adoption piece that I'm going to break down in a little bit. Always sign all paperwork, including any behavior notes or behavior waivers, acknowledging that they understand that the behaviors have been explained to them and they are ready to adopt. And then finally, the adoption photo. It's really great to share that on social media. It's really great to share that out via email with your organization. Working in shelters can be a tough life, right? So we need all the pick-me-ups and happy smiles that we can get, and focus on that energy as well. So celebrate those adoptions, and thank everyone that helped you with that adoption. So again, what happens first? We want to engage. We want to be friendly and ask those lifestyle questions. We do not want to make judgments, no matter how they look, what they're wearing, anything like that. We do not want to make judgments about the people that are coming into our shelter, hoping to walk home with an animal that is the best fit for them and their lifestyle. So again, what kind of dog are they looking for? Are they a very active family or active individual? Do they want a dog that will kind of just be their companion and lay around with them and just go out on potty breaks? Really dig into their lifestyle. Who else is going to be engaging with the dog that's going to hopefully be adopted? It's super, super important to always be smiling. Again, we're the first people at the adoption desks that the community sees when they come to our shelter. And so it's really important that we started off on the right note, and we started off with a positive experience. And we always want to end with a positive experience as well. The power of shelter software systems. I only have 2 listed here, but there are several shelter software systems out there that can help with everything that I'm about to explain. And they really are our friend. Yes, they can be a little challenging sometimes, but just thinking about and talking about behavior notes and behavior waivers today regarding adoption and foster and potentially foster to adopt, shelter software is so critical in cross communication across teammates, collaboration across the shelter. We have multiple buildings here. We have a large number of staff here. And so by being able to keep our shelter software system up to date, we use PetPoint, and by keeping those behavior notes up to date, the good or the bad behavior notes, that's what we all need to know. It needs to be up to date so that those that are consulting with the potential adopters or fosters, they are up to date in case they don't know that dog or cat yet. So I'm going to go deeper into that here. Here's my pre-adoption behavior roadmap. So again, we're going to review the notes. We are required to read behavior notes and behavior waivers verbatim, word by word, but we don't want to sound robotic. At the same time, we want to break down what we are reading into layman's terms so that the community members understand what we are saying. For example, if we say Olga pulls at a level 3 out of 5, that doesn't really mean anything to the community members. That's our internal language. So we need to translate that in a way that is understandable for them and how hard that dog might be pulling on leash. I mentioned transparency without fear. Again, we need to be transparent and not be afraid to do so. This will make sure or better ensure that we are making the best matches for animals and people alike. We're reducing the risk of escalated behavior challenges in the home, and just being honest about who the dog is and what we know about the dog. Continuing with that, reviewing again the good and concerning behaviors, and again breaking down that information into layman's terms. It can be really easy, especially when we're really busy, when we have a lot of adopters coming in at the same time, to just read the behavior notes and go from there. But we have to take that deep breath and take the time to break down what that information actually means to them, for them. The meet and greet, we want to explain the process thoroughly. We don't have an application process here. As I mentioned, we do same-day adoptions, and it's all conversation based. So after we've gone through the behavior notes, that they have selected some dogs that they would like to meet, then we communicate with our animal care staff and we explain the meet and greet process thoroughly so that they're not confused. They know exactly what to expect with each dog going into each situation when they're meeting them. And I mentioned this as well to remind them of the support offered. So I'm an animal behaviorist here, and we have a small behavior team, but we also have some animal care staff that are pretty well versed in animal behavior and dog behavior specifically, and cat behavior as well. So we offer a lot of support. I do a lot of post-adoption behavior consults, both over the phone, followed up with email, with specific links to resources or specific training plans or management plans that I put together for them. And they don't know that we offer that support unless we tell them. So we need to support them up front and let them know that. And then, of course, we have them sign the behavior waivers before meeting the dogs. So why are behavior notes important? We are responsible to be transparent about the animal's behavior, whether it's good or bad or concerning behaviors. The lack of doing so, as I've said, does not set everyone up for success. Instead, it could end up in a return. While returns are not always a bad thing, we are able to learn more about the animal in the home. If we are not being transparent about the animal's behavior and they're returned for those exact behaviors, then that's on us. And we are not keeping our community potentially safe, the adopter safe, or the dog safe. So again, this lack of transparency can result in injury or worse to animals and people, and it can prevent the animal from being available for a positive outcome in the future. Transparency is so important. Do not be afraid to ask animal care staff for more information and assistance. I'm speaking from the adoption desk perspective right now. If we're not sure if the behavior notes are up to date, let's say the last behavior note we saw was 2 months ago, but we know that this dog has some behavior challenges, then try to communicate with your teammates, your supervisor, your team lead, animal care staff, whoever might be available that does know that animal, that can provide more information. And that person might be the person that will be doing the meet and greet with the dog and potential adopters. Therefore, we always need to work together. And you'll hear me saying throughout this presentation, teamwork is the key to success. One of my other quotes is collaboration is the key to success. So we need to work together as a team always. Here's an example of behavior notes and pop-ups. So the orange right here is a behavior pop-up, which is really, really helpful for our adoption team. As soon as we pull up an animal's name, this pops up that says behavior waiver, fearful, kids 14 and older, structured and slow intros. And with that, we're able to then look through the behavior notes to get more information. So I'm going to read these out really quick right now. As if I was reading it to an adopter. So we leashed Tallulah and took her outside today. She was her usual guarded, stiff self. She did not circle me while walking. She remained by my side and sniffed about. She did not use the bathroom. I brought her back inside, and when she approached her kennel, she turned, whale-eyed me, stiffened, and raised her hackles. I used the hook stick to remove her leash. They were using a slip leash on her for specific reasons, and she did not aggress further. Not everyone knows what a whale eye means. Not everyone knows what raised hackles mean. So we need to break this down for the potential adopters, that what is her usual guarded, stiff self? She has difficulty meeting strangers, and she demonstrates that through her body language. And she does have a bite history. So we can go back and further in her behavior notes to see why this behavior waiver popped up that says fearful, kids 14 and older, structured and slow intros are needed. Another behavior note down here is about a different dog, with myself and the behavior coordinator, that reads, today, Dr. Carley and I did some reactivity training with Sheila. Sheila's a dog. While Christina was walking her outside of the receiving kennel. Sheila initially observed us at a distance of around 50 meters, and upon seeing us, she began barking and jumping. Dr. Carley was able to instruct Christina in the engage, disengage training. After a few short reps, Sheila was able to come inside of the gate and eventually began taking treats from Dr. Carley's hand. Again, they might not know what reactivity is, or why, or they might know what it is, but they might not know how we label it. So we really need to break down, what does that reactivity look like? That looked like Sheila saw me. It was my first time meeting this dog. She was about 50 meters away. The more information, the more objective information in the behavior notes, the better. She was barking at me, and she was at the end of her leash. And I was able to coach the handler, Christina, on what to do on engage, disengage training. And we would want to break that down for the potential adopters and fosters. And in this particular situation, what I had the handler do, the animal care handler, Christina, do, was every time Sheila looked at me, Christina would say her name, Sheila would look back at her, and she gave her a treat. We were able to decrease a threshold of 50 meters to the working very slowly with her, to where she was able to come inside the gate and taking treats from me happily. I was able to pet her, and explaining that situation can make this and other behavior notes sound less scary. And the other important thing about behavior notes, not just for adoption and communicating to potential adopters, is the quicker the behavior notes are put in there, then the quicker the behavior team or anyone that is working on behavior management or training in the kennels or outside the kennels with the dogs, the sooner those notes are in there, the sooner we can work more with that animal and potentially create a specific behavior modification plan for them. Like I said, this presentation is mainly focused on dogs, but does include Colt, who is currently in my office right now. And he does this really cute wave at me. So I had to pop this picture in here. So this behavior note reads that since Colt has been in my office, he has made great strides. On day one, he would hiss, but allowed me to pet him with a toy, which led me to be able to hold him, and he relaxed in my arms. He quickly became playful with toys. He really enjoys all types of toys, and I put that in there specifically so that we know that he doesn't have a favorite one. He likes any kind of toy. He did go into temporary foster, where he was social, playful, and affectionate. However, the daughter learned that she is highly allergic to cats, so he was returned back to my office, and he continues to thrive with extremely lower FAS. Most adopters and fosters and community members are not going to know what we mean by FAS. It's fear, anxiety, and stress. And we want to break that down again for them. The note continues to say that, again, he might give a hiss from time to time, but going slowly with him initially results in him opening up very quickly. You can engage him with his toys, and he is very active. He also appears kitten friendly as he attempts to play with the kitten underneath him in the double level crate. So now I'm going to jump into a real life example. And the next two slides, I apologize, they do have a lot of information typed on there, but it's intentional in case you all want to refer back to it. So here we have a picture of some of our adoption team, and this is actually a foster posing for the picture. I'll admit this, but I'm gonna give you a real life example that I did handle, where a family member came in, family member of a dog that was surrendered by another family member. And so a different family member came in asking about that dog because they wanted to adopt that dog. The initial adopter had passed away and their significant other had surrendered the dog to our care. I look up the dog and a behavior pop-up appears and it says no kids. And I know that the family in front of me, they've already told me, has a 2-year-old at home. And I was a little afraid to adopt this dog back to them because of knowing this dog, more hyperarousal, jumping mouthy behaviors, no bite history, but being concerned about how the dog would respond to such a young child. Come to find out, this dog had been around the 2-year-old since she had been born, as they have regular family get-togethers, and we can grill out some pool time. I'm still a little afraid to adopt because of this pop-up note, right? And so in this picture, you can see that the frustration begins, and we need to recognize that quickly. And so what do we do from there? We want to de-escalate. We want to re-engage and stay calm, cool, and collected. Again, we want to ask more questions. Even though they're frustrated, if we remain calm, cool, and collected, that in itself can naturally sometimes de-escalate the situation. So continue engaging with them and be eager to learn more about them. I asked them for pictures of them with the dog and Annie with their daughter, and they had tons of them. There was additional communication that wasn't given to me up front when they first came in, that they had driven 3 hours to come adopt this dog, that they had spoken to someone on my team a few days ago, that they could come down, and if they had pictures of the dog and the dog seemed to recognize them, then they could go home with the dog. But I didn't know that. And the team members that were with me that day were not one of the team members that communicated that. So I didn't have this information, but that's okay. I have to stay calm, cool, collected, let them know that I'm working on gathering more information. I thank them for being patient. And again, continue de-escalating the situation. Don't turn them away. Don't just turn them away because the pop-up happened. Don't just turn them away because they said they talked to someone and that wasn't communicated to you. Work towards a resolution, a solution, and work with them and work with your teammates. So what did I do? I looked at our schedule and I figured out which teammate probably engaged with them. And I gave her a quick phone call and she confirmed everything that they said. And while I'm doing that, talking to a teammate on the phone, another team member, because at that time there was only one other adopter in the lobby, and so they were able to continue talking with the family. They didn't have their daughter with them, and I was afraid that they were going to have to come back with their daughter so the dog could meet them. But after learning and asking more questions about the whole situation, and then using my teamwork mindset to connect with our team lead, I learned a lot more information. Again, we're working towards a solution. I received confirmation from my teammate. We did the meet and greet with an animal care staff member, and we observed the interactions, and it was beautiful. The dog absolutely remembered them. Come to find out, the dog speaks Spanish and knows several commands and cues, and the dog was extremely happy to see this man and his wife. So what was the outcome? It was initially a stressful situation that did lead to some frustration on both ends, but we were able to both, fortunately, stay calm, cool, and collected, gather all the information that we needed from the organization and the family and the dog. The dog was happily adopted, and they continue to thrive in their home. This is not the dog, but this is another dog pictured here. This is Atlas. It is also has some behavior challenges, and he was a really fabulous celebration adoption. They're all celebration adoptions, right? But especially when you have a slightly more difficult animal that's maybe been in has had a slightly longer length of stay, things like that. Team favorite, if you will. When those animals are adopted, again, we share those photos out with the entire shelter so that everyone knows. But again, the whole point of me breaking down this real life example is that a lot of things could have gone extremely wrong. I could have turned them away. I could have told them that they couldn't adopt without bringing their daughter in to meet the dog due to the dog's known behaviors. Even though it's a friendly dog, it was a large dog, and we don't want anyone to get injured. And they drove 3 hours down here to get this dog. So it could have been a really bad situation for everyone where they walk out unhappy. They were willing to drive back with their daughter another day, but that's a long drive for driving 3 hours here and 3 hours back. Instead, we were able to turn this stressful situation into a great positive outcome. And we did that through using several de-escalation techniques. And that is something that I will be providing for you all after the webinar. There will be a couple of templates that I'll be providing for you all. One template that I will be sharing with you is how we track our post-adoption behavior consults. And this is my post-adoption behavior roadmap. Even after they have been adopted, you want to stay engaged with them, especially when we're talking about dogs that have significant behavior concerns, behavior challenges. We want to loop back with them and stay engaged. Let them know, remind them that we are here to support not just the dog, but the whole family. The education never stops. We want to share our knowledge with them and reputable resources with them as well. Now, when you're sharing resources via email, you really want to do your homework to make sure that you are sharing resources that you trust, that also aligns with your organization's mission and vision and goals for adoption, and the way that we treat our animals in our care and the way that we expect animals to be treated once they walk out of our door. During this educational moment, you also need to remember to continue breaking down information into digestible terms for the adopters or fosters. So again, let's say that a dog is exhibiting resource guarding of one person when they're sitting on a couch. I'm going to have a phone conversation with them and have them explain to me everything that's been going on. I'm going to be taking notes, and then I'm going to follow up with an email that really breaks down everything that we talked about. I'll have a little review of what we discussed, and then I break down each behavior. If there's one behavior, if it's just resource guarding, then I'll break down that situation, paired with a training plan. And I always tell them that the reason the email or the training plan might look long and overwhelming is because I'm breaking it down into simple, digestible steps. But each step will become very natural for them as they learn and go through it. And I'm here, and other members of my team are here to support them if they have any questions. When we're educating and working with them, we want to also ask them, well, what is going well? We don't want to just hear about the areas that they need help in. We also want to support them in the great things that they are doing. So oftentimes I'll ask about enrichment, and I might have to explain what I mean by enrichment, and come to find out they are already doing several of the enrichment things that were popping into my head through our conversation. And I want to thank them for doing that and acknowledge that they are doing a great job. It can be very, very challenging when you have a challenging dog at home. I have a challenging dog at home, and I get down on myself sometimes because he does have difficulty meeting new people, and he's a very sensitive dog to a lot of different things. But my partner reassures me frequently that, hey, but you did this with him, and they did this with him. And now we have 3 pet sitters where I just moved here 2.5 months ago that love our dog and are able to take care of him, take him on walks. He loves to see them. So we always also want to tell them the good things that they are already doing. Even if they're not already doing something, tell them, just be interested and encourage them and thank them for adopting and thank them for reaching out so that we can get ahead of the behaviors before they escalate to something further. I always ask for videos and pictures, as I have found, especially with videos, if they're able to video some of the behaviors of concern, I can break those videos down in slow motion and pick up on maybe some subtle body language cues that are difficult to detect in the moment in that situation, or even when you're just going back and watching the video. But when you watch those videos in slow motion, you can really help to break down what you're seeing and convey that to the adopter. You can take those videos in slow motion and take screenshots of, see, or that dog just did a paw lift. That's a body language. That's a communication that they are uncomfortable potentially, or they're fearful, or they're stressed. So the more information that we have, the more helpful we can be. And also, I have found over the years, I've been doing this for about 22 years in animal sheltering now, that by having this information and working with them, with adopters and fosters in this way, it might turn into a good story, a good social media post about, not just about the shelter and all about us, but look at this dog and look at this family and look at what they did and how much they love this animal and come adopt a dog from us. And don't be afraid to share that we also offer behavior support pre and post adoption. So again, our goals here for post-adoption behavior is to focus on pet retention, collect stories, and spread of word, spread of mouth by experiences that adopters and fosters have can go a very long way. We helped someone out that found a cat that had been hit by a car recently, and he brought the cat in and as a stray, but he was just in his 30-40 minutes with this cat, he became super attached to this cat. And he came back the next day wanting to take pictures, wanting to see her and meet her. And that's not always going to be a possibility depending on the situation with the cat or dog of interest. But we were able to make that happen. We don't typically walk the public back into our clinic. And instead of saying, no, but thank you for bringing her in, but we can't do that, again, active listening, be supportive, put yourself in their shoes. If you had just rescued a cat off the side of the road and you couldn't stop thinking about that cat and or dog and how they're doing, and picturing them in a cage or a crate in a shelter can be so heartbreaking for so many people. It's heartbreaking for even us that see it every single day because we want to get them into homes. So what I did with this individual was I connected with our clinic team and received approval to bring him back so he could see the cat. And he took some pictures. After the cat recovered from surgery, he decided that he wanted to foster the cat. And I think it was just 2 days ago, he decided that he wanted to adopt the cat. So again, we're turning potentially frustrating situations into positive and exciting situations that results in positive outcomes for the animals in our care, which is most important. And keeping our community and the adopters and fosters safe. So when I was speaking with this man, when he called me specifically because he wanted to adopt, and so he had already told us that he had been sharing pictures on social media. He was saying all these great things about the organization. He had strongly encouraged several of his friends to donate specifically to the care for the cat, but to donate to the shelter specifically, just in general, So a lot of great things can come from our adoption conversations. Again, de-escalation techniques are super, super important. And having that opportunity to take the time to listen. I know we're all always so busy, but would we rather that dog or animal not have an opportunity to leave the shelter successfully and that person leave our shelter upset and angry, or turn that situation around and work with them? It's our responsibility to stay calm, cool, and collected and help to de-escalate them. And again, thank them for their patience if the process is taking longer. Be open and transparent about why the process is taking longer. So spread of word can be a really big thing, a really great thing for your shelter, for the animals, and for pet retention. I also do a lot of pet retention consults, whether they adopted from us or not. If they're calling to surrender an animal and it's a behavior challenge, then that team sends their information over to me so that I can speak with them and I can talk with them about what's going on in the household. And oftentimes they don't want to surrender that animal. There's just a challenge with another animal or one person in the family, and there are opportunities for us to help them. Even though we're so busy, this is our responsibility to help get animals into homes and stay in their homes safely. And that's what we're able to do. I went through some of that fairly quickly due to the time, but the main takeaways here are, again, to engage. We are the first people, whoever is at the front desk or the adoption desk or your main building, we are the first people engaging with the community. We need to do so friendly, and we need to never pass judgment on anyone. We want to offer the opportunity to adopt or foster to anyone that walks through our door. Of course, there will be exceptions. There will be times that we are not able to adopt to specific people for various reasons. But in general, we are the first people that everyone sees from the community when they come in. So we need to greet them. We need to like our job, and we need to demonstrate that we love our job. We need to continue with educating the community. That can be done in so many ways, by reading the behavior notes and being transparent about that, and translating that into layman's terms so that they understand what we're saying from the behavior notes or behavior waivers. Again, shelter software is your friend. Yes, every shelter software system has some challenges, but we all have challenges. I say that we all have our own quirks. And so, but shelter software systems, that's how we can communicate across the shelter with everyone efficiently, instead of calling on the radio or trying to get someone to the adoption desk that knows the dog. If we keep those behavior notes up to date in our shelter software system, then not only can we be better prepared to find the right match for adopting and fostering out that dog, but then team members like myself and the behavior team can be aware of these challenges as soon as they are recognized, not 10 days later, as soon as they are recognized, so that we can jump ahead of it and we can work with that animal to increase their adoptability. Meet and greets. Again, just a reminder, determining whether or not it's in a room or a play yard. You want to work with your colleagues to make that decision on what's best for the dog, and meeting new people. De-escalating. Again, I'm going to provide some one or two videos about de-escalation techniques. They're really short videos, but they are very helpful. And I say to my teammates all the time, if I see someone stressed out, I ask them what's going on, and to stay calm, cool, and collected. If you need to take a break, I'll cover for you. Go take a little break, have a breather. De-escalation also includes active listening. We have to be really, really engaged and actively listening to the conversation that we're trying to have with the public member, community member in front of us. And again, I will continue to say this, no judgment. Living down here in South Florida, it can be interesting because some people are coming here straight from the beach, right? So they could be in their swimsuits with just their t-shirt over or something like that. And it can be really easy to pass judgment on people by appearance, but it's really important to not do that. We wouldn't want to be judged ourselves. I have dreadlocks. I don't want to be judged if I were going in to adopt an animal and be judged just because I have dreadlocks. There's a lot of things that go with that are completely inaccurate with who I am and my personality. And we always want to work towards a positive and safe solution for everyone, pets and people alike. All right, so that is the end of my presentation. I think I hit right on the dot at 10 till. This here is a picture of some of our members of our adoption team and behavior coordinator in front. And this is his office dog at the time, named Debbie. and she was just adopted 2 weeks ago, and she had been with us for over a year. And then the photo, we have our adoption photos directly and behind our adoption desk so everyone can see. And this photo demonstrates just 1 week of adoptions. And I was so happy and so proud of our team. And again, not just the adoption and foster team, but all of the teams at the Humane Society, because it takes a village to get these animals adopted and do it correctly and keep everyone safe and happy and healthy. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm ready for any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much, Dr. Carley, for this amazing presentation. We do have a couple of questions. The first question being, are there special techniques or modifications of existing approaches that rescue teams can use in disaster rescues, especially when assessing and handling reluctant animals? It's a handling question.
Do you mind rereading it?
Yeah.
It's a long one.
Are there special techniques or modifications of existing approaches that teams can use in disaster rescues when assessing and handling reluctant animals? We probably could do a whole webcast on this topic.
Yes, I could. Yes, but that is a great question, and that's one of the templates that I'm going to, or a similar template that I'm going to provide some quick tips and tricks for common behavior challenges, but also when you are first meeting an animal that's coming into your shelter. Um, I present on this quite often, and I could talk for hours about how to assess animals. But what it comes down to is really looking at the individual animal in front of you. And you can do some basic physical handling on the dog, just as you're out on a walk with the dog, paying attention to their body language when certain people are around, looking at the distance that they might be reactive towards different people or animals that are around. So it's really, it's an in-depth question that I'd love to go and speak so much more on, but it's really comes down to functional assessments and really looking at every interaction with an animal is a learning interaction, both for the animal and for you. So really paying attention to the body language that the animal is presenting when you are engaging with that animal, no matter what the situation might be. I hope
Great.
that helps.
Thanks, Dr. Carley. Our next question is, do you have a go-to place for behavior resources? We use Kelly Boland's website, but I'm always looking for more information and different perspectives.
So I will admit that I used to work for Best Friends Animal Society for about 8.5 years, and I still go to their resources quite often. Quite often, I also go to Maddie's fund resources as well. And the reason I really like a lot of Best Friends resources is, well, I did write a lot of them, and but we have step-by-step training plans posted on there for specific behaviors. So bestfriends.org/resources. And then I go to Maddie's Fund quite often. And I use a lot of Chirag Patel's videos that he might post on Facebook, or that I learned from webinars from him. But that's something else I could provide a list of my go-tos as well.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Carley. And I see that our Maddie's Fun team shared a couple of links in chat. Thank you for that.
Great.
All right. Next question. If a dog attacks another smaller dog and causes a bad wound and the dog gets returned to the shelter, should that dog be adopted to another person? So, dog who's attacked a small dog with a bad wound, returned to shelter, should it be adopted out again?
It depends on the situation. I understand this situation, but I would want to dig more into how how the dog behaved in the home besides that incident. And so my short answer is yes, I would probably adopt that dog out again, but we would be careful about not putting that dog in a home with small animals or potentially any other animals at all. So we would do our own dog dog to dog meet and greets here, play dates, and see if they are candidates for that, and continue assessing their play behavior that way. And if it doesn't work out that they don't get along with other dogs, or there could be a situation where they like to play with other dogs, but they don't like to live with other dogs, then again, that's where the behavior notes come in to play for us and support us in communicating this to potential adopters. So with just that short scenario, my short answer is yes, but I would be doing more work with that dog upon that dog's return to better determine what could have happened in that situation, what led up to the situation. I would be asking the person returning the dog to explain as much as they can, and for our teams to gather as much information about that specific situation.
Thanks, Dr. Carley. And can you expand on that a little bit, talking about resources? And you obviously have you and other amazing resources at your organization. What if you're at an organization that doesn't have resources to assess and support? Would your answer be the same? Might it be different?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, if you don't have staff that are comfortable doing dog to dog meet and greets, and then I it depends on the dog's personality towards people. I would change it to flip it to that script, so that we're looking at how does the dog engage with people? Is the dog friendly with people? And if that's the case, then I would adopt that dog out to an uh, a home where that dog would be the only animal in the home.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Carley. This is a
Yeah.
wonderful presentation. And thank you to everyone for watching today's webcast.